get a hot.
Okay, we lost Twyla.
She went to go hit record.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I see.
Video guy. Really good.
Multitasking, look at that.
Public hearing, shall we begin there?
Yes, please.
A, special entertainment permit and liquor license for Casamia doing business as Graziano's Restaurant.
I'll open that public hearing to the public. Is there any comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll close that public hearing. Next on.
Is B, special entertainment permit and liquor license for Raymond J. Levine, Post 9459.
I'll open that public hearing. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll close that public hearing.
Next
Next
item
item, please.
is a new liquor license for Angelo's Restaurant.
I'll open that public hearing. Comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll close that public hearing.
Next item is consideration of $2,040,000 bond order for Trail System Project and Water Line Project.
I will open that public hearing with a little clarification that our bond counsel has required us to bring this bond back in front of the public. This is one we voted on last year and passed. The bond information wasn't written 100% accurate in the newspaper for the public hearing, according to bond counsel. So he's asked us to bring that back before the public, stating that it includes both the trail and the water project. I believe the trail
Both
system.
projects, yeah.
Right, the trail system, I believe, was left out of the wording, although through all of our meetings and all of our public hearings, both topics and projects were talked about and the full amount was there. This is more of a formality that we have to re-present that to the public so that it is heard as both projects for that total value, and then council will reaffirm the bond order that the public passed. So with that clarification, I would open the public hearing to public comment.
Isn't that a different figure that we voted on? Didn't we vote on 2.7 million and this is 2.4? 2.04?
She's mixing that up with the Route 9 project.
Yeah, I think you're mixing that up with the Route 9 project. This was, the Route 9 project was $1,000,007
The Upland Road.
for the Upland Road and the Route 9 piece. This was for the Trails Commission
All the water project.
and all the water project. Any other public comment?
Dot Fitzgerald, resident of 6 School Street, Lisbon Falls. My question is on the trails. Coming back from Lisbon and looking at towards the where the trail is going to be along the river, and there are a lot of trees there that need to be cut. Now, how can you justify that? Because you're not supposed to cut trees no more than a certain diameter within 250 feet of any body of water. How are you getting around that?
I don't think there's gonna be that many trees cut, plus it will all be done through the engineering design project, and all the permitting will be done properly. They're the ones who do all the permitting, so it's already been discussed, and it's not an issue.
And I do believe the EPA has looked at that project when it was presented
State projects.
from a bond, from a grant perspective.
It's funny that some can get away with it and others can't.
It depends on what you're cutting and where you're cutting, and the amount that you're cutting. If the right program is presented to the DEP, then you're fine. And it's not going all the way to the water, it's going to come in from the river. You'll be able to see the river, but it's not, within 50 feet of the river that I know of.
250 feet is quite a distance.
I trust the professionals will do
My
it right.
concern
Excuse me. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll close that public hearing. Next item, please.
Is the consent agenda, Order 2010-54, to approve the mobile home park renewals, off-premise catering permit for Richard's Restaurant in Brunswick, special entertainment permit and liquor license for Graziano's Restaurant, renewal vittular licenses, a special entertainment permit and liquor license for Raymond J. Levine Post 9459, mass gathering permits for Riverside Flea Market and Moxie Days, liquor license for Angelo's Restaurant, and the minutes of March 2 and March 16th.
I would entertain a motion.
There's one, everything will be taken care of one shot, I take it.
Yes. Yep.
I'll make the motion to accept the consent agenda as written.
I'll second it.
I have a motion from Councilor Cody, a second from Councilor Kraft. All those in favor?
Order passed 6-0.
Okay, next item, please.
Council orders, resolutions, and ordinances, Order 2010-55, advisory question for budget referendum process.
Steve?
This is you should have in your packets something that Roger wrote up for us. And tonight, this is for discussion amongst the council. If this is something that you choose to do, you will need to make a decision tonight if you're going to put this on the June ballot as like you had discussed earlier, as a non-binding question. You'll have to vote on it tonight. Otherwise, we will not have time to get it on the ballot. So it's open for discussion, I guess.
Discussion from council?
What? Don't see that document, do you?
It's right after your meeting minutes.
That's it. That was
Draft written all over it?
No, it's
Oh, that's the street lighting.
Right.
agenda item. It should be in the corner. It's pretty much.
It looked like this, Roger.
Well, I guess I'll start the discussion. Personally, not in favor of this. I believe the town voted to have a council form of government and a charter, and that they put the onus on the members of the council to make the decisions from a budgetary perspective. We had a review committee that had a number of meetings and public hearings to determine what form of government we should go to. That was, the information that came from that said that we should go to a charter form of government. And then we had a charter commission who went through and wrote a proposal that was then voted on by the public, and the public voted for a town council charter form of government. And I understand we're voting, I hear a lot of times we're voting for the school. The only reason we're voting for the school budget is because the state mandated it as part of the whole RSUs. Otherwise, if the state hadn't put their fingers into the pie, we wouldn't be voting on the school budget at this point in time. It would be handled as our charter was originally written. So I feel the onus is on the council to make the decisions. We were elected to make hard decisions and put in this place to do the job, and I'm not going to vote for it.
Just to clarify, there's going to be a question on the ballot in June that will ask about eliminating the line item voting for the school as well.
Correct, yes. Right, because that was a 3-year activity, I believe, and so there will be a question on there that the public will vote on to determine if they want to continue voting on the school budget.
That's a good idea. The people who don't want it, they can turn it down. And if they do want it, they've got the option to accept it. I think it's pretty clearly written. Do you wish to change the Lisbon Town Charter to require a budget referendum process for the annual town budget? It's not confusing, it's very plain. The people will make the decision. Anything that you put out to the people to vote on, I believe, is in the best interest of the people. I would definitely support it.
Dale?
I put a lot of thought into this, and as I've stated many times, that I would like to see it go out to the people, but I think that when the charter was written, that there's a process that was put in place for the public to put forth to get it on the ballot. And that's to go out and collect their signatures and go through the process to do it. So they were wise enough to put a procedure in there to get it on the ballot.
Right.
And I think that we're going against that procedure by just the council deciding to go forward on this. Now, I can tell you, if there's a group of citizens that want to put this forth, get their signatures, get it on the ballot, force it to go on the ballot, I'll vote in favor of it. Okay? But I can't vote in favor on this procedure, of this way of doing it. If they want to go out and do the work, as the charter allows for them to do it, then I think they should move forward on it. But I'm going to have to pass on going at it this way.
I think the problem I have with it also is I did state earlier that I was for the people being able to vote, and it is true, they do have a process, they do have a way to do that. But the problem that I have with that is that if it's worded in this manner, yes, but if it's worded, can we go ahead and vote on the budget? No, I don't agree with it, because as I stated before, there are a lot of things that we need to work out for this. We can't just go ahead and let the people vote to put it on the ballot, because, as I said, we could go to vote on it 5 times if we don't have any rules in place, I guess, so to speak. Will we vote line item? What will we do exactly? So I think that needs to be very clear first before we can vote on it in this manner.
One thing about putting it on the ballot, Gina, is if we give it to the people to vote whether they would like to vote on their budget, we would have that control at this point, and we could water it down in any particular way we'd want to. But if we force it to a citizens' referendum, the citizens will vote it in, and we're going to live with whatever they vote in. That's the difference.
And
So,
that's what I don't agree with.
well, that's why if you vote against this, you're voting for what you don't agree with.
This is just an advisory vote here anyway, so it wouldn't actually mandate a change. It would just give us some idea if people are in favor of this or not. I think that would be helpful as a council to know, should we pursue this, or, is it something we shouldn't go into?
Well, while I understand that, I think council has stated numerous times in all of our discussions that we're more than willing to hear from the public. I've heard a couple of comments for, I've heard nothing that says they want us to change what we're doing, the way we're doing. We've had comments from the public against doing this. We've had a couple of comments from the public about going forward. I haven't seen a huge outcry of citizens saying that the council is doing things inappropriately, they're not making the right decisions, and we're not trying to move this town forward and be fiscally responsible.
If we
Or
put,
did you have something?
I still go back to the question that's going to be in June. I thought we had agreed a couple of weeks ago when we talked about this, that we would get a sense from the way that folks vote in June about the line item for the school department as to how we proceed with this. Because even if we get this information now, it's not going to affect anything until next year, and we still have time after the June vote to determine, are people in favor of keeping the school budget, voting on the school budget that way. Gives us an idea if they want to do that for the schools, for the municipal side of it as well.
Any other comments from council? Comments from the public? Ken, and then
Ken Wells, 60 Frost Hill Avenue. I was part of the Charter Commission that wrote the charter, and we thought long and hard about doing other options, but basically weeded it all out because we figured this would be the best form of government that we could come up with. You guys ran knowing the fact that you would have to make the tough decisions on these budgets. If you're not willing to do that, then please step down and let somebody else who is do it. The reason we went to this form of government was so we wouldn't have the politics at town meeting to have special interest groups come in and make changes down people's throats that basically we didn't want, but majority ruled, so we had to live with it. And I think that was the driving force behind the council, that people wanted to go to the council. And that's why I would recommend that you guys stay as you're doing it. If people want to come, we did make provisions in the council, so they could even go back and change, bring up certain articles or budgets on the town floor. They could do that if they don't like what you guys are doing. Basically, that's my opinion.
George?
George Karen and 50 Main Street, Lisbon Falls. I agree with the gentleman before me. The system already exists in the charter. If they want to challenge things, that they can, so I say go that way, guys.
Thank you. Michelle?
Michelle Trammell, Lisbon Falls. Although I can respect everybody's opinion, my understanding, the meeting 2 meetings ago was, and granted you weren't present here for that meeting, unfortunately, but there was a group discussion and an agreement that it would be put on the ballot to poll the citizens to see what their feelings were. I think you would be amazed right now if you polled those citizens based on the vote in the election that was, special election that was held October of 2008. I think you would find, based on a lot of those signatures and the people that voiced their opinion and came out to vote, this is what they were asking for. They actually, a lot of them asked to remove the whole council. This was something that was in lieu of that. I think there's a lot of people right now that if you were to talk to the citizens, you would find that they're a little upset with the way their money's being spent and would like to have a say-so. You're asking a polling question. You're not asking to change it. You're just asking for what their opinion and what their thought is by putting that question out there on the ballot to them. You're asking the town, what do you want? The citizens, what do you want? And then you guys can figure out from there how it's going to change or if it's going to change. But you're asking for their opinion. It costs you nothing. You're just asking for an opinion. If you don't put it out there, yes, I can guarantee you there's going to be a citizens group that's going to push forward, and then you have no say in the way that the writing of the charter is going to be. That's why, it's been brought to you guys several times to try to work with you to allow you that ability to come up with the questions, to come up with the information. But at this point, the agreement was you were just going to poll the citizens. That takes away no power, no nothing. You're just asking for what their opinion is and what their thought is. And I think the citizens should be allowed to pose their thought and their opinion based on that question, just like they're going to be asked the same thing on the school budget. Both questions should be able to go out to them and allow them to give you what their opinion is. I don't understand what the threat is on asking their opinion and what their thought is. Yes, they asked to go to a town council form of government, and that's because you did have small groups that were coming to the town meetings, and they were giving the direction on a lot of the things. You've had the town council form of government. I think you would find there's a lot of people that there are tweaks and things that they would like to see made. This is one of them. You're only asking an opinion. That's it. It absolutely costs you nothing. So I don't understand why there's this reluctance and why there's this fear of asking the citizens what they would like. That's it. That's all you're asking is, what would you like? And then you can work with it from there. I would much rather see you guys work it based on what the public tells you that they want, rather than a group of citizens who go out and get 1,200 signatures and tell you, now this is what we want. And then you don't have a say-so at that point. I think it would behoove you to put it out to the public and just say, what is your opinion, what is your thought, based on the feedback you get, because they're going to vote on it for the school as well. Do they want to take their time out every June to come out and to vote on this, or would they rather leave it to you guys? Then you have your clear answer that yes, they're competent and they're comfortable with the decisions that you guys are all making where you're sitting at. Granted, they're hard decisions to make. They're not decisions that I think anybody wants to do, but I think the public has the right to give their input at this point.
Excuse me, Michelle. I appreciate that. I struggle with the, I think there was some wisdom with the Charter Commission in putting that process in the charter. And to me, an indication that the town wants to make a change would be getting enough signatures to do it. That's an indication to me, okay? And I agree. I mean, they can write it the way they want to write it, but that process does the same thing that you're saying that this process will do. By people signing the name saying, I want the change.
Except
And
for
so-
it removes your power to work with the public on that wording.
Well, exactly, and they had the wisdom to put in there to remove the power. That process is in there to remove the power. So if there's enough people out there, I mean, I got a few emails after we publicly said we haven't heard from people. I did get a few. I've been in favor of the taxpayer having more say-so and everything. I believe in that. I would vote for it if it was on the ballot, and I would. But I still think that the process is there in place by the charter, the wisdom of the committee that put that in there. I think that's the way we should go instead of finding another avenue to do it. Process is there. If the public wants it, gather the signatures, and we'll find out. So, I mean, your argument's legit, but I think the process is there to accomplish what you're looking for.
I mean, we write policies. I mean, I work for a major corporation. We write policies all the time, but 6 months into it, you know, a few fires pop up and we realize, oh, there's some tweaks and some things we need to do. I mean, that happens. Times change. The economy certainly has played a huge role in this, but things change. And I understand they wrote that provision in there so that you could make this change. But as I stated months ago, it would behoove the council to seek out the public's opinion on whether or not they want to do this and work with the public rather than a few people from the public telling you this is how it's going to be. I think you've got a better effort, if you poll the public, if this is what they want, then you work with them and look at it.
That's a
and then
great
proceed.
argument.
I think it would be a more concerted effort if you did it that way. That's just my opinion.
Any additional comments? Don?
Don Fellows from 5 Fairview in Lisbon. Just a quick comment again, you've heard it all before from me. But I think the question you're really asking is, does the general public want to have the responsibility for deciding the municipal budget? And if the general public does want that responsibility, I think it's the general public's responsibility to bring it forward, because in the meantime, all of you have been elected to do that process. So I think the proper way to do it then is to ask the public to come forward and create their own move to vote on the budget.
Mr. Wells?
I'd just like to make one more comment, that the public does have a chance to make comments on the budget at the town meeting or the town public hearing of the budget. They express their opinions, you guys listen, take it or not. I know you've made changes in the past after it. I could tell you that the first budget meeting after you guys became council, there was only 2 people in the audience who weren't town employees or school employees. And so when the things started getting hot, the public came and started inputting their comments on it. So they made their choices then. I mean, that is the best time to express the opinion, not a yes or no vote on, well, however it's going to be on with them approving the article or not. I don't agree with the way the state makes the school department do it. I've never have agreed with that, and I think it should be left up to the school department and the council to make those decisions, because unless somebody goes to every meeting and has all the facts and details, they cannot honestly make a true and accurate interpretation of that budget. I have seen people voting on town floors and they don't know what they're voting for. Personally, I've done that myself. I just raised my hand because, you know, my wife is voting one way, I vote a different way. So, just something to take the boredom out of it at the town meeting. And every year, that town meeting falls on my birthday. So instead of celebrating my birthday, I went to the town meeting. I think I've missed once meeting since I've moved to this town. And I have made almost every one of the town budgets meetings after we became a council. And out of those, the first ones, out of the 2 people, it was myself and one other woman. that made comments on the budget for the first council meeting, or the first council part of it. So they do have an opportunity to express their opinion of the budget.
Any other comments, Richard?
Rick Graham, Webster Road in Lisbon. I believe the council have each received the email that I sent. I'm sure you all know where I stand. This gentleman makes a lot of good points. I think another point that's being lost is the vote where the public can cast. If they're unsatisfied with the performance of the council, they can vote you guys right out of here. And that's the way this government is set up to be right now. It's not what what it should be, what it ought to be, what it can be. This is what it is. You guys need to do, what you're elected to do, the way the town charter is written right now, regardless of what happens with this process going forward. This is where we are right now. And if the public is seriously that dissatisfied with it, cast a vote against whoever they think's not representing the best interests of the town and put somebody else on the council.
Wait. The only final thing I'll say is that when the school had meetings at the school on the budget, everybody came out and said they didn't want this cut, they didn't want that cut, and they wanted everything the way that it was, and then the town turned around and voted it all down. So that just a very clear picture that the people will vote their mind, and they won't come out and speak. That's why this is important.
I'd like to make a comment that when that, if it's the same period I think it is, the council actually added money back into their budget. They did not make the full cuts that they had originally did. They added money back into the school budget to keep programs.
Yes.
We took out 117,000.
Right, we reduced based on what the public requested.
Last year or the year before? No, that's when the public said it was too high.
Right,
But the year before that, after the public meeting,
right.
was the
Right.
consensus was not to make the cuts from the town, or for the school
Right.
department, from the taxpayers, and the council made some conciliations and didn't cut the budget as much as they originally wanted to. So the
Right.
process works.
That's correct.
Mike,
Any other
I have a quick
Gina?
comment. I think the biggest problem I've had with this all along is it's what the public wants, but we've seen a very small outpouring of people that are supporting this, and this is what they want. My own personal email was published online, and I haven't gotten any emails about it. I've gotten some personal contacts about it, and the people that I got the personal contacts are here in this room tonight. So I have a problem with something that the town wants, and people don't contact me. And I've said it a million times, and I've been commented on that, but, that's a problem. And it's what we've dealt with all along. It's always a certain group that thinks the public wants it. Well, let's let the public come forward and put it before us.
Any other public comment? Richard?
Richard Main, Libby Street. I think it was 5 years ago when the townspeople voted to adopt the charter and to institute a council town manager form of government. And at that initial time, many of the members of the town selectmen at that time became members of the town council. Members of the advisory board became, many of them, or several of them, became members of the budget advisory board. And both groups were trying to feel their way forward, how to relate to each other. And being involved in it, I may have been at fault in not pushing for a different process. But as you remember, it was generally where the council would come in and they would be under the gun, so they would ask at some meeting for a report. And so immediately, we would have to have a report for them, not even having all the information. It's progressed so that I understand that now the advisory board and the council are going to meet together and discuss these things around a table, as opposed to having it, the council sitting up there and the advisory board sitting down here and giving a report to the council. I think that's good, and I think it's progress. The putting an advisory opinion out there for the public and bypassing the charter, in my mind, is really a violation of the charter. Now, there's been quite a bit of criticism of the council in the past of violating the charter by doing things or not doing things that are stated in the charter. And I, for one, really think that to put this out there is a violation of the charter, that the council members have taken an oath to uphold. It is also, and I use a big word, an abdication of your responsibility. And it's a shirking of your responsibility if you just do something that you think the public might like, but is not within the process to complete. I would encourage you all to uphold your oath of office, not try to get around it, not try to give somebody else the responsibility, or point to somebody, well, they said that we should do this or not do this. It's just an advisory. Well, I think that the charter provides a process. It should be upheld, and it should be strictly upheld, as we have been told in the past, and the council has been criticized for not upholding in the past. And so I just encourage you. I think that the process is going to be good this year. I think it's going to be upheld. It's going to be much better, where the council and budget advisory board will meet together and discuss this around the table. I think it's going to be helpful to the public when they come up to the public hearing as well. I just encourage you to not support this, whatever it is, order that is presented before you tonight. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any additional councilor comments? Dot.
Dorothy Fitzgerald again. I was one that voted for the town council form of government. I attended all of the town meetings. I'd be there night after night after night, from beginning to end, and I could see that the process really wasn't working because of special interest groups. And I am sorry that I did vote for the town council form of government. At town meeting, there would be 250, sometimes or less, and sometimes more, voting on a budget. I just feel that that is a more fair way of doing it. And the funny thing about polls, I know Gina says she doesn't get any calls. I've looked up your number in the telephone directory, published it on the Lisbon Reporter, and somebody called me up and said they called you, and all they did was get the sound for a fax machine. So they couldn't call you because...
We've had the same phone number for 31 years, and it's possible my fax machine was on one day, so they didn't try very hard because it's not on all the time.
Well, I know because I have the same problem too, but, and the funny thing about a poll is each and every one of you and I, 6, 7, 10 people, 2 people, 3 people can go out and do a poll. And each one of us can probably come up with a different result, different answer by the people we ask. You ask the people that are going to give you the answer that you want. So that's your definite, that's your result of a poll. I mentioned this once at a fairly significant meeting, and on a bypass to of Route 196. And this was quite a few years ago. And I mentioned that. I asked the gentleman, I said, well, who did you ask on this poll about, being in favor of, and the result was in favor of a bypass? There wasn't one person, one business that would have been affected by a bypass. So they got the results that they wanted by asking the people that they wanted, and not by asking the people that would be affected. So I just think that it would be fair to put it on the ballot, let the people say, yes, I want to have a vote on the town budget. No, I don't care, I don't want to vote on it. What are you afraid of? Why not at least put it on the ballot and let the people tell you? Thank you.
I'd like to clarify something else. It was also stated online that my phone number was not listed in the phone book. It is listed in the phone book, and there are maybe 5 Masons, so process of elimination, they would have found me.
I know you're Rick Mason.
Yeah, have been for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, in defense, Dorothy, of Gina, I've called her hundreds, if not thousands of times. I've never got a fax squeal yet, and her number's always been in the book, so that's, again, misinformation that gets put out there to discredit people, and it needs to stop.
That's, one person called me and said that they tried her number and they got the fax, screwed. One person, so.
Any other public comment? Michelle?
Just one follow-up to clarify the charter, since there's the issue of whether or not you guys are following the charter. In the charter where it talks about where citizens can bring forth a,
Excuse me?
I'm sorry. Sorry, Michelle.
in the charter where it talks about where a citizen can bring forth a petition, it also indicates that counselors can bring forth items and solicit the council for charter changes. And I believe Mr. Cody has done that. You're supposed to have 2 counselors that are supposed to bring forth an item to request a charter change. I believe it is written in there. So you're not in non-compliance of your own charter if it's the citizens versus the council that does that. Again, tonight, special interest groups keeps coming up. And need I say that there's more than one counselor sitting there that has been part of this special interest group? They've attended meetings and been part of that group. A special interest group is not a group that's going out there and trying to make Melissa's changes or do things. They're people who have talked to people who don't want to come here and speak publicly because they are in part afraid of backlash, intimidation, and things like that. It's been brought forth many a times, and I've seen where it has happened. So there are reasons why people don't want to come and speak publicly. People also have issues with coming and speaking publicly, and they don't want to identify themselves. Not everybody has access to the internet. So I think that the assumption that people are going to be able to look on the internet and look up your information and know how to reach you is an assumption. People have had to make cutbacks. Internet's one of them. So they don't have that access and that ability to email or to look up your contact information. But this word special interest group keeps coming up, and it's continuing to come up today versus leaving it in the past when you guys were a town meeting form of government. This special interest group you guys keep referencing today, you have 2 or more counselors sitting right now on your council who have attended meetings for such a group. So I would just caution that you guys stop using that word, because it's kind of offensive in the fact that that special interest group is made up of people who have come to every single meeting for the last, I don't know how many years. And the fact that we're special and the fact that we come to the meeting because we care, I think is about all as special it should be given as far as a title. So, I mean, it just, to identify people as special interest groups, I think is really not fair, because when you have 2 years ago, what Mr. Wells was talking about, where the money was put back in the budget, is when we all met at LCS, and the citizens came out. Now, you want to call them special interest groups because they came out and spoke. They didn't want arts, they didn't want music, and they didn't want things cut from the school budget. Does that make them a special interest group because they came out because of something special in the budget that was about to be cut? I don't think so. It makes them citizens who want something better for their kids. They want something to stay in their school. That doesn't make them a special interest group, any more so than it does for anybody else that has a passion about something within this town and wants to come and advocate and to push for something. Again, the question that's going on the ballot, you're not asking an advisory question. You're polling the citizens, is this something that they want? Just like you're doing for the school. You're not looking to change it. You're asking for their opinion. That's it. You're asking the opinion of the public. Is this something that you want? If so, and if they come back overwhelmingly and say they do, now you have something that you need to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, how do we want to change this? And if we do, what's the most prudent way to do it? If they come back and say no, it's a done deal. You're done with. But the council has the ability to make those charter changes because 2 councilors can bring forth that information, and that keeps you within compliance of your charter. So I don't think that you're going against that information. I think by polling the public, you're asking the public's opinion and then move forward based on that information. If they say they don't want it, fine. Nobody needs to move forward with it. But if they say they do, I think you've got something to scratch your head and say, okay, maybe we need to look at this. The public's saying, yes, they would like an opinion. And it's as simple as that. So I wish that special interest group that keeps getting put out there right now would kind of disseminate and go away, because that isn't what this is all about. It's about people just trying to look forward, because there are people out there that don't want to come, that are afraid to speak, and don't have the means to come out and do it. So it's as simple as that.
Okay. Any additional comments, council? Oh, we have an order, but I don't have a motion. I don't have a second. I can move it to another agenda. I can entertain a motion for or against it.
How about a secret ballot?
I need a motion to vote on anything.
I'll make the motion, Mike, to put this to a vote, that we put this to the people and give the good people of Lisbon an opportunity to vote their true opinions on this issue, and take it from there.
I have a motion from Councilor Cody. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second from Councilor Lunt. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Order passed 2-4. It failed, actually. Order failed.
Okay, next item, please.
Order 2010-56. $2,040,000 bond order.
Okay, this is based on our public hearing. We just have to reaffirm the bond order based on having gone through a appropriate public hearing according to our bond council. So I would entertain a motion to reaffirm the bond order.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I have a motion from Councilor
that.
Mason, a second from Councilor Crafts. Any discussion from council? Comments from the public? All those in favor?
Order
Vote.
passed 6-0.
Okay, next item, please.
Under other business, street lighting policy.
You've had a couple of weeks to take a look at this. If there's anything you'd like to add, if it's okay the way it is, we will send it on to the planning board and on to legal counsel to spiff it up, do whatever they have to do, and we'll move forward. We are a little bit more than halfway through our inventory, I heard last week, trying to get that all in order. So hopefully, by the first meeting of May, you'll have something to vote on, or at least you'll start your first reading.
I did see 2 streetlights the other day that were on during the day,
Okay?
and I think I jotted it down, but
Just give me a yell,
I will.
correct that.
Okay, council, so everybody's had a chance to look at this, I'm assuming. Does council have any changes they'd like to recommend to this before it goes to the planning board? It will come back to us after it goes to the planning board and legal for final approval and any additional adjustments based on what we see from them as well, so. If there's no major comments, I would entertain a motion to accept this and send it to, oh, I don't need a motion.
You don't need a motion.
This is other
Just-
business, sorry.
It's a chance for feedback if anybody
Okay.
had any comments and
All
additions
right.
before we move
I
on.
intend to-
Okay.
I'm going to attend all the planning board meetings, so I'll deal with it there.
And
Any
they were
comments from the
welcome.
public on the lighting ordinance? Or street lighting policy, should I say?
Just like to know, Ken Wells again, just like to know if there's any provisions in there, that if a street light is being installed new or a replacement one, that the most energy efficient brand on the market can be installed, like LED street lights now?
I think there is.
Seven.
Yeah.
I think there is something in there.
Section
Something
7,
like
right?
that.
Page 7.
Page 7.
And it talks about just installation standards.
Yep. Street light shall be.
The town shall seek minimum energy usage by streetlights by choosing optimal lighting configurations, which could be innovative technology, cost-effective. So there is a provision in there, 8.4.
Section 8.4.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Any other comments from public? Anything else from council? Okay, so this will go to the planning board.
Yep, and legal counsel.
Okay,
Very good. Thank you.
all right, next item?
Under B, Town Manager's Report.
There was a planning board meeting held on March 25th to look at the recommended changes in zoning that the comprehensive plan had recommended, plus a few other small changes. It was a pretty difficult meeting. There wasn't there was a quorum for the planning board, but a lot of questions got asked. A lot of answers weren't given because they didn't have them. But we went back to the drawing board, the planning board did, and Mike Cody and John Maloney. I've asked them for specific things to present to the public, so the public has a better understanding of before and after, so they can really see. John's going to make up maps for that, along with charts to show the differences in those zones that are taking place. Also, we took the wellhead protection ordinance, and we've sent that off to legal counsel. There was requests from a company that, what's their name? Electric there, not Enterprise.
L&B Electric,
Who was it?
L&B Electric,
No. Who was the gentleman that was there?
Kelly.
The company down here off Webster Road that polluted all the stuff, remember?
Main Electronic,
Dingley Press.
Rockwell International.
Yes, thank you.
Oh.
Little block here. They had an attorney there and had some recommendations for some changes. Our attorney has looked at that, is not real comfortable with carte blanche, which they were looking for, so he's going to make some changes and hopefully have something that will work for the wellhead protection as well.
And that will be communicated and worked with the water commissioners?
Yes, Paul has been part of that process, Paul Adams, and he'll get copied on it as soon as Roger makes some changes on that to make sure it works. They had some concerns as well, the same concerns that Roger had about just giving them a carte blanche.
One thing they want to be awful careful of, Steve, that I've noticed that they're trying to do with block zoning is illegal.
Yep,
And any block zoning that goes on is definitely going to be looked at.
yep. And I hope they're aware of that. That's their job.
You can't go in and zone for any particular business that wants a zone change. That's illegal.
Yep. So the next meeting, because the planning board has a very full agenda for the April, this public hearing will not come up until the meeting in May. So anybody who's interested can attend that meeting and get their questions answered.
Will that be held in the same place?
No, we're going to hold it here. We thought we were going to have a bigger turnout, and we held it at LCS, and it really wasn't as large. We could have accommodated that here, so it will be held here. The LES property, they have contacted Rick Green, superintendent, so that they're in conversation about that. And otherwise, that's all I have. Any questions?
Questions on Steve's report? Okay, next item, please.
Is audience participation. At this time, those in the audience who wish to address the council may come forward. Please use the microphone at the podium.
Rick?
I just want to mention real quick, I was going to do it earlier when you guys looked at a couple of entertainment permits tonight, and it all seemed to go pretty good, so I just figured I'd throw it in at this portion of the night. I've been in the entertainment business my entire adult life, and truth be known, for several years prior to that. And I've watched a trend in the state of Maine where municipalities seem to go out of their way to try to put places out of business because they either get deemed to be trouble spots or whatever. Lisbon doesn't seem to be one of those towns. You guys do a lot of good stuff. We got the Moxie Festival, we got concert in the park, and all kinds of good stuff. But I just want to give you an example. I was in a place Saturday night in Brewer that just reopened. It used to be open for years and years as another establishment, closed, now it's reopened. Council up there is already trying to put this place out of business. If they do, they'll be putting 28 employees out of work. So I would just urge the council to not necessarily fall into the trap that other municipalities seem to do of, you know, bunching all these people into the same category. I mean, everybody has the concern of, you know, go out for the weekend, remain orderly, and so on. But entertainment is entertainment, and it's an industry. Unfortunately, most of the municipal places in, you know, towns in the state of Maine, that fact is completely lost on them. You go other places in the country, nightlife is nurtured as an industry. It's a massive revenue stream for almost everybody connected to it. So I think Lisbon does great. There's a lot of, you know, extracurricular type things that go on in Lisbon, and would urge the council to keep a really open mind when you're dealing with, you know, entertainment permits and things like that. And remember, it really is a business. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other audience participation? Mr. Bard?
Hi, I'm Leon Bard, Main Street, Lisbon Falls. So I was wondering if you guys could give us an update on the Freedom of Information request for Reggie Tibitot. Anything happening with that, or?
He had the opportunity to receive all the information that he requested. He did have a representative in here working with Twyla, getting information. So as far as I know, everything has been followed through on that he needed, that I know of. And I know they have gone to court, and the judge has not made a decision on that yet.
Okay, so you did get back to him on the?
Oh, yes, we've always been, he's always had the opportunity, or a representative, which is what he's had here most of the time, his mother, to come in and get whatever they need.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Michelle?
Nothing relating to budget, I promise. I sat through it, well, actually, I should take that back, because it's in regards to a workshop that was done in regards to the budget. And actually, conveniently enough, the questions that I have relate to someone who actually is here in the audience tonight, because he had presented, Police Chief Brooks had presented his budget, and there were some percentages given to help understand the statistics. And so going into the next workshop and whatnot, it would be helpful for me to know, you guys asked for some clarification on the percentages he gave. You wanted some raw data, the actual hard numbers. If that was presented at a prior meeting and I somehow missed that or fogged it, then I apologize. But because he was here, I was hoping I could get that information so that coming into the next meetings and workshops, and of course we have the April 27th hearing, it would be.
Here it is, you can have a copy.
Yeah,
It was provided to the Budget Advisory Board and to the council at the very next meeting.
Right, but I wouldn't have had that, so I was hoping that maybe he could speak to that and just help to understand the numbers, because that's something that I'm assuming he's going to advocate for at the budget meeting and the public hearing, because of the fact that he presented a budget with, I believe, 2 less officers, if I heard what he said correct. I thought he had presented a budget that was, the budget that he had presented was a budget that was cutting 2 positions. And so in order to advocate for that and to understand the numbers, I just wanted to know if that was information that was now available that he could provide.
It is available.
Because it wasn't put out, like, for the public to know, so I didn't know.
No, it was passed out at our last workshop.
Right, and we
You
would
certainly
make
could,
that
if you would
public
like a
and do
copy, just ask.
And make a copy for you.
that.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I just think it's something that the public would want to know, just to follow up, because it was aired, and so I just thought they might want to know.
Well, if it gets asked during our budget workshop, then, by council or the advisory board, we'll discuss it then. Any other audience participation?
I don't give out information.
Okay. Next item?
It's under appointments, Order 2010-57, Civil Constable appointment.
We have a civil constable appointment for Kevin Soretti. This is to deliver civil process papers throughout the community.
This is an annual appointment, same person we do every year, right? Is this a new person?
No, this is a new person. I haven't seen
Oh.
this person before.
Okay.
Sometimes it's,
Didn't Steve Ham used to do it?
Yes.
well, Steve does it through the sheriff's department, the county sheriffs. They employ part-time people to do serve civil process from time to time.
He's been up to visit me a few times.
So, so this is a new person I haven't seen before. I mean, seems to all be in order. It looks like they've been in business for 10 years, and they have a certificate of insurance liability. The company is Surratt Consulting and Investigations.
Is that something we pay for, is that not?
No, that's just this gives him the authority to, if a lawyer or somebody gives him papers that need to be subpoenaed or delivered to people,
Well, does that come
he's
through-
allowed to deliver them in the
Is that through
town.
the sheriff's office or something?
Excuse me?
Does that come through the sheriff's office?
No, the
or-
sheriff also will deliver if the attorneys go to them. The attorney can pick whoever they want to deliver papers.
Exactly.
Right, actually, right, yep.
It's competition.
Chief, have you heard of this company before? No? I don't think it's a big deal. I mean, he's only delivering papers. So I would entertain a motion to appoint, I guess I'll say, Surratt Consulting and Investigations as civil constable.
We're out of Litchfield?
Is that more than one person or just one person?
It's a company. I don't know if he's covering just himself and he's his own company, or it sounds like in reading everything that it's him.
I think your
As that
appointment
company.
should be just for him, yeah.
It looks like.
Right. So I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion, Mike, to accept the Surratt Consulting and Investigations for the constable in the town of Lisbon.
I'll second it.
I have a motion from Councilor Cody, a second from Councilor Kraft. Any further discussion from council? Comments from the public? All those in favor? Very good. Next item, please.
Under Council Communications.
Council communications. Any communications from council? Tina?
I have one. I'd just like to comment on last Thursday night, the Lisbon Night of Appreciation. We had it at the Holy Trinity Church, and everything went very well. It was a good outpouring of people. I think there were about 150 there, something like that. And we recognized people in a lot of different aspects of business and volunteerism and employment, people that work here at the town office, and it was a really good time, and it was a good time to see the citizens and the employees out, and people really appreciated it. Some were very moved to watch them. Fern and I passed out the certificates, and some people that you see around town, they were very humbled and they were very proud to receive the honor. So we should be proud of our employees in our town.
Roger?
One little tidbit that I'd like to bring up. We're very appreciative of the fact that we're getting a new highway on Route 9. And I'm really liking the mountain in front of my house. It's kind of cool. But at 6 o'clock on Saturday morning, when my wife and kids is trying to sleep, and they're crashing at tailgates. I think we have an ordinance in town, nothing before 7.
Check it.
I don't want to be a pain in anybody's butt, but boy, that's annoying. You know,
Every morning, my husband has a big truck, so.
it is kind of loud when it's right across from your doorstep.
I'm sure.
The rest of the week, it doesn't matter. I'm at work and it don't matter.
Even if it still bothers your wife and kids,
She's at
right?
work too.
Oh. All set? Anything else?
I'll check
from
that for you,
council?
Roger.
Any other council communications? Okay. All right. Next item.
Is to adjourn, Order 2010-59.
Okay, this would be to adjourn and then go into a budget workshop.
Super cool.
So I would entertain a motion to adjourn to a budget workshop.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I have a motion from Councilor Cody and a second from Councilor Kraft. And all those in favor?
Order passed 6-0.
All right, and we'll take about a 5 or 10-minute intermission. I think we got to get a couple more tables down here so we can all
We don't
sit
have-
down.
We don't have other tables. Well, if
Oh, you
the-
don't?
what
We don't have
do-
any more tables?
they're
What
not-
about the ones
We
in
stay in
Rosie's
our
room?
comfy
they're
chairs.
not- I don't think they're in there. are they?
Sit in my chair.
And that's
We
not
have,
fair.
I think, we didn't get them set up, but if the school board and advisory board just pulls around here, there wouldn't be, even if we had all the tables, there wouldn't be enough room.
I got one last.
Well, I still want a 10-minute recess because we got to sign papers.
You need to sign those bond orders and stuff.
It wasn't there.
Really?
So I was a little surprised when I came in tonight. It was there.
Steve, where'd the tables go?
Well, I thought, weren't they've been gone for a while.
From Rosie's room?
Bond out of there.
I thought we brought them back and they were in here for a while.
In here, I don't know.
I have to look at the room. I actually don't
Down
remember.
to the Polly was like,
I'm not
right
gonna set
outside
them
the
up.
window.
Even if we
So I
set
was
them up,
just going to
Rose,
check my mailbox.
Milo, there won't be enough room.
Why not?
We can't get enough room just for the council.
Back door, over there.
If you put 2 on the end, you wouldn't do it?
There's a pole right here. You just have to come in and walk 2 blocks and then go back out. You can't jump over any windows or anything.
When it's still light out so you can see the lights.
I know, I've come in here at night before. I don't like, I'm thinking, okay, some nut is in here hiding.